Hello, welcome everyone to the Waverley Local Planning Panel meeting of the 11th December 2024. I'd like Waverley Council acknowledges the traditional owners who occupied the Sydney coast and acknowledge Aboriginal elders both past and present. There's no apologies today for this meeting. Our panel today, our experts are Mary Lynn Taylor and Kerry Kiriako, and our community member is Claire Edwards. I'm Jacqueline Townsend. I'm the chair of this panel today. We have declarations of interest. Can I call for some declarations?
Yes, I have a declaration with the first item, and we'll leave the room when that is on.
Thank you. Any other member have any declarations? No, and I have no declarations. There's 10 items on the agenda today, and a number of them don't have any speakers, so we'll just fly through them pretty quickly. And the items that do have speakers, if you could just stick to the 3 minutes, that we would appreciate that. So let's move on to I should also say this is a public meeting. It is being recorded, and it will be available later. Along with the minutes of the meeting, we will hear the 10 items and then we'll adjourn into a private session where the panel will make the determinations, and the outcome of these items will then be put up onto the website, hopefully later this week. So item number 1, Marilyn, would you like to leave?
Yep.
Thank you. It's DA 87 2024, 100 to 102 Ramsgate Avenue, Bondi Beach. There were many submissions received during the exhibition period. We have been provided with those submissions, and there's registered speakers. There's 3 speaking who object to the recommendation, and we have the applicant here from GSA Planning. So let's start with the objectors. Martin Butler, are you here? Do we have Martin with us? No? No? Okay. What about Jason McQuillan? No? Oh, and Matt, is Jason?
I think I can see him there. I'm unable to see. He's there
Everyone.
on his iPhone.
Oh, okay. So are you able to speak, Jason? Can't go off mute. Can you unmute him? Are you controlling that? No. No, we're not, Jason. We're not controlling that. Can you not do that yourself? Nope. Okay.
Oh, he's back.
Either
We'll
we'll
log
log
back
back in.
in.
Okay. We've got a video down here with a line through it. Are we on?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks for giving me option. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I will be short, and it's more of completeness because I did put in an objection to DA 87. Having seen the considerations and read the report and looked at the design, my overall view is that if it is compliant within the height restrictions, which it seems to be, then it is perhaps the best of the best of bad options potentially. In that I can see that efforts been made to minimise the view with the within the compliant envelope, and the alternates provided by the architect are potentially worse for my property and generally. So that's my position. I'm the owner of Unit 9. Funnily enough, I lived in Unit 10 for 3 years before that. I don't think Tony is here, but Tony is the one who has the most catastrophic view loss. So it would make more sense for him to be presenting on that grounds. But I can see that from my case, it's not a particularly strong one. And so I just want to give that insight. I would make one point, and that is that with regards to my view loss, there's a comment, I think it's on page 41, that talks about retaining views to the east, which is correct, although there is another DA, which is 539 of 2024, which I know has previously been, which is a rehash of a previous application, which was rejected. It appears they're now trying to have a second go at it and increase the height on that, which would impact that view. And so the cumulative effect on me would be real if that other DA also got through. So I realise we're talking about 87 here and not 539, but just for the committee's understanding of the wider impact is that it's almost a piece by piece taking of the views. So when that one goes back up, I'll be making that a submission on that and referencing this discussion if that's appropriate. You'll see there's also another one. I don't have the DA number, but I think it's 88 Ramsgate, which is a 5-story. And so the other consideration is, what is the overall plan for Ramsgate? Is it going to be a apartment lined Gold Coast style development in the future? So that's just a more general point. But this is about 87 and non-87. My view is that this is the current impact on me is not beyond minor, but it's a cumulative effect that will impact me.
Okay, yeah. The view loss isn't lost on us, and it is unfortunate in these areas. So, Tony, we hear you, and I'll just see if anyone has any questions from the panel. No. Thank you. we'll now move on to, is Matthew Hughes here? Yeah,
Yeah, speaking.
right. So we're ready to hear from you, Matthew, when you're ready.
Great, thanks for letting me speak. Just some background about us. I'm an avid surfer, my wife a keen ocean swimmer. The reason we chose and worked extremely hard for our apartment is that it offered views of a Bondi beach, particularly the surf zone and the ocean beyond. We enjoy those views from our principal living area and principal outdoor living area. The proposed development at 102 Ramsgate in its current form will have a devastating impact on us by obstructing those iconic views that are central to our home and well-being. The change to the initial plan does not in any way ameliorate the effect the building has on us. Compliance with the LEP height standard and FSR is questionable. The proposal is deemed to be exactly 12.5 metres high and exactly 9.5 metres external wall height, measured to the third floor only, but there are numerous question marks around the perceived compliance, which is unacceptable given the impact to the neighbouring properties. Please refer to my 2 previous written submissions for more detail on this. Council have indicated that the proposed development should go ahead because it complies with the DCP controls with regards to height bulk. However, view loss and view sharing also form part of those same DCP controls. Even if the proposed development is compliant in height, it doesn't mean it's compliant with the view loss and the view sharing principle. Each has an equal weight. In my opinion, Council have not carried out a proper view loss assessment and have really just dismissed it. The view loss to us is catastrophic. Under the planning principle established in tenacity, the following should be considered. Water views, whole water views and iconic views are more valued. If the proposed development were to go ahead, we would lose whole water views and the land-water interface of the iconic bay at Bondi. Secondly, the planning principle considers that views obtained from front and rear boundaries are more important than side views. Currently, our views are obtained over the top of the buildings in Ramsgate Avenue and Campbell Parade, rear to front, rather than across side boundaries. The principles of view sharing under the DCP promotes views over the top of the existing building of the development site. These views would be obstructed by the new proposed development. The tenacity principle also assesses the extent of the impact. This should be done for the whole of the property, not just for the view that is affected. Our property enjoys views from the principal area of private open space and the upstairs living area of the upper level. They can be observed while seating or standing. No other areas in our property enjoy views of any significance. The proposed development ignores the principle of view sharing objectives, and the view loss for us would be absolutely devastating and irreversibly alter our quality of life. For these reasons, we urge the panel to refuse the proposed development in its current format. Thank you very much for listening, Matt and Julia.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Do we have any questions for Matthew? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Is Martin Butler online? No, we still haven't got Martin. All right, and we've heard from Jason at Matthews. Thank you very much. George Caravanas, you're from GSA Planning.
Yes, indeed.
Would you like to address the submissions made by the 2 objectors in relation to the view loss specifically?
Yes, I will. I'll provide a short introduction as well, if I may.
Yes.
And thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I have with me Mr. Brian Marson, who's the architect, and he'll also be available to answer any questions of the panel. He's the architect, of course. Firstly, I do confirm that we concur with the thorough assessment contained in the assessment report and also concur with the conditions. We do not wish to challenge any of the conditions. Secondly, the most salient point, I suppose, of this proposal is that it is compliant with the key development standards being the height and the FSR. And they go to preservation of amenity if you don't comply. The proposal is also been reduced during discussions with Council in response to the objections and is now entirely compliant with the wall height and all setback controls. In fact, it's smaller than the required setback controls in the area. It's all contained within a compliant envelope and is a better planning outcome when it comes to view sharing when you compare it to a compliant envelope. In respect of the views in particular, you'll read pages 32 to 42 of the assessment report, which confirms that the view impact, notwithstanding its severity in some instances, is reasonable. And this is largely because the proposal does indeed comply with all development standards and envelope controls. Importantly, as considered by Council, the proposal provides a better view sharing outcome than alternative scenarios that have been looked at, such as having two separate buildings. This is because the proposal provides increased site setbacks compared to those alternative scenarios. So they go to step 4 of tenacity, being the more skillful design. There's nothing more that you can do in terms of a skillful design other than remove levels, which of course goes against test 4 of tenacity, which affects the amenity of the development and reduces floor space significantly. So for all those reasons, the proposal is a well-considered proposal, as confirmed by Mr. McQuillan, the other objector. It does comply with height and is reasonable on that basis in terms of view sharing. There is not an expectation that everybody, unfortunately, will keep their views, as unfortunate as that is. It is far more important if that view loss is created by a non-complying portion of the building. This building complies in all respects and in fact is better than a complying development as it is smaller than it. So for all those reasons, members of the panel, in our opinion, the proposal is appropriate for the site, the locality, and worthy of approval, and that opinion is shared by Council's planning officers as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for? Okay. Thank you. We have no more speakers on that item, so I just want to thank everyone for coming along, and we'll make our deliberation in the private session with the determination to be put up later this week. Thank you. So we'll go now to item number 2, which is DA 626 of 2002. Mary Lynn's just coming back into the meeting. Beach Road Hotel, which is at 99-111 Glenair Avenue, Bondi Beach. It's an application to modify conditions. There were a number of submissions, many submissions made on this application. We have received them all without documentation. We have one speaker objecting today, Kyle Edelson. Are you here, Kyle? Yep, thank you. Can you see us, Kyle?
Yeah, no.
You can't see us?
Are you Chamber Zone 3 or Zoom 3 or?
I think our video's off.
I can see the small one of Zoom 3, but the one is blank.
Yeah, can you just check? I think you'll see the video's turned off. If you, is it? It's down the bottom. It'll have it says it's got a line through it. If you sort of go down the video control, you know, if you zoom sort of down, you'll see that there's a line through it. Yeah. Is there? I saw it before. No. If you go, you know, if you go down where you go mute, there's the microphone, then there's the thing. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Just so long everyone's can see. Thank you for that. All right, Carl, your 3 minutes. When you're ready, you can commence your submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hi, Council. Thank you for letting me speaking. Just in relation with the Beach Road Hotel, we live right behind it on Blair Street. There's several points that I want to raise in relation to preventing the application for extra people on the premises. The applicant wants to remove the midnight lockout requirement, and the hotel is what is now in a highly built-up residential area. It is already noisy when inebriated drunk patrons, often in groups who wander the surrounding streets and laneways looking for places to urinate, or on their way entering or exiting the property to be sick or gather in general. It would be far more preferable to have the weekday hours reduced to 11 p.m. instead of extended. I feel quite unsafe walking to and around the vicinity of my own home, especially walking dogs late at night. There is a park which is right on the corner of Blair Street and Glenair, where several patrons currently gather and congregate after closing and during and pre. And my home is right next door to that park and right behind the hotel. There are many times when I'm laying in bed, trying to get some sleep, and I hear large amounts of screaming and noise from the hotel, especially with walking my fiance and myself up. This causes waking us up. I apologize. This causes a lot of lack of sleep for both or one of us, especially since we have jobs that require us to wake up early, and we're in the process of planning a future and starting family in the next few years. How these extended hours and patrons affect the rowdiness of the patrons leaving the establishment? Will this result in my future and future of potential family being constantly woken up throughout the evening? As I mentioned, there's a laneway right behind my home, which often smells of urine and vomit. And I've constantly messaged and spoken with security, raising these issues. Will these extra patrons result in more unease in the street? And while I'm going and walking dogs late at night, I've constantly been shouted at by drunk people in the area, shouting at me. Will this increase in the future as well? There are regular residents in the area of the establishments who are walking late at night. Or this is going to be a bit of an increase as well. The last thing that I want to raise is the applicant wants to increase the permission by 10%, which is probably around 500 people as well. This is already a result of more noise, more traffic, and less parking with the residents in the area. As I said, I wake up early in the morning. I work late till late in the evening as well. I already struggle to find parking in the area. Will these excess increase in people affect the parking in the area? We don't want to drive around for large periods of time trying to find parking and struggling already. It already affects my mental health by driving a few minutes in the area. By another 10 minutes, will I struggle to find more parking? Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions of Carl, panel?
No, thank you.
No. Thank you very much, Carl. There's no further speakers on that item, so there'll be decision made on that and put up on the website later, Carl. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 3, which is DA 455 2022A, Bronte Surf Club, Bronte Marine Drive, Bronte. There was a submission made during the exhibition period. There's no speakers registered, so we will move on now to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 4, DA 441 2024, 154 Killouis Street, Bondi Beach, New South Wales 2026. Again, a number of submissions written to under the exhibition period. We have been provided with those submissions. We have registered speakers, Christy Evenhouse and David Redelman and John Uting. And we've also got a speaker on behalf of the applicant. So are the objectors here, Christy?
I'm here, yes.
Yes? Great. Okay, so are you all speaking together, or I just have you all down here as collective, that's all?
Yeah, no, we'll be speaking separately.
Great. Okay, great. Well, when you're ready, Christy, thank you.
First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity to address the panel this morning. On behalf of our objectors, our clients, I'd like to put forward the following. You've obviously read the submissions and have all that information. I'd just like to add a couple of more things. So what I'm wanting to say to the panel in determining the development application, you as the consent authority obviously have to take into consideration the requirements of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. The application to be determined today is for the modification of the 1 condition and removal of 2 conditions. Now, the conditions imposed on this DA remain with the land, as you'd be aware, and have an enduring effect. As the panel will be aware, legislative changes occur on a regular basis, and if these conditions are removed and legislative changes are made, there will be no enforceable conditions to protect the community from amenity noise impacts in the future. And then I would also say the Act requires these submissions to obviously be considered. The deletion of the conditions is regarded as not in the public interest. The conditions set a community expectations for the development, and failure to meet conditions can have significant impact on the surrounding area. The council report in table 2 states that the zone objectives specifically seek to promote employment growth by giving preference to commercial development over residential development. Now, whilst we acknowledge that the state government's vibrancy reforms are legislative reforms which seek to improve nighttime economy, what we wish to add to that is, whilst the proposal may be consistent with these reforms at present, it gives no consideration and no protection for the residents of the area in the future. So our request to the panel is, please, can you just retain those conditions and refuse the application as requested? Thank you, panel members. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'll just check if there's any questions.
Thank you.
No?
No.
Thank you. Well, now, David Redelman, are you here, David?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, when you're ready, you can start your submission.
Yep. Good morning. My name is David Redelman. I live in the Pacific, Unit 207, 18186 Campbell Parade. We are living just above the Bondi Public Bar drinking establishment on the second floor of the proposed extension of ours. We have 70 to 80 street-facing accommodation rooms living in the Pacific building, where at least 2 to 3 people may live within. Obviously a mix of older people, younger people, renters and children. We appreciate that we are on Campbell Parade with various traffic noise and there is a park over the road. There are motorbikes and noisy cars that continuously go up and down at all hours of the day. We accept this noise when we bought our units as it existed. On 2 to 3 nights a week, there are motorbike riders and other hoon cars which have become part of the nightlife of Bondi Beach, which go uncontrolled or even unchecked by the police. The proposal before us is to extend the hours by 1 hour on the Friday and Saturday nights. What purpose other than generating income for the owner are you trying to achieve? You are giving an extension of 1 hour drinking and gambling, which means from our point of view, people leave and congregate after the closing hours, whether it be in the park, in the street, or just waiting for an Uber or whatever. These people are not Bondi Beach people walking home. Please come and visit our area after 11:30 onwards and see the Ubers, the taxis, and other means of transport. People are loud. Their voices are 1 octave higher, as you would expect after a few glasses of alcohol, before calling it home or moving into another venue. Why? Why are we so enthused to make a nightlife for 1 hour in a residential area of high living intensity? What are we achieving for 2 nights for Sydney nightlife? It is wrong what is proposed for this community at this section of Bondi Beach. The gentleman, Kyle, who spoke before, has many of our points outlaid today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Any questions for David?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. And John?
My name's John Utting. I'm a resident of the unit, and I'm also chairman of the Strata Committee. I'd just like to make the point that, you members of the panel are really the last resort that we residents and citizens have to have some sort of justice and fair say. So we really respect the sort of the power and the influence that you have, and we are sort of depending on you. If I can just say, we accept the fact about the nighttime economy and that this place has already got a license and is already free to run music and stuff like that. But the real question here is that, the Premier, as we've all heard, is very keen on high density development. We are like the canary in the coal mine. And if this high density development is going to go ahead and we're going to live in that society, there has to be some sort of justice for the residents and the people who have to live with it. This place at the moment already has problems, noise problems, which we as a Strata Committee are continually dealing with. We accept the fact that the pub's been there for a while and that we've got to put up with this, but we just can't see why it's necessary to extend this and to further impact the residents. And just to give you a graphic thing so we know what we're talking about, this isn't a standalone facility or something like this. There are 5 stories directly above this of residents. 5 stories of residents, many who are elderly and retired. From my point of view, it sort of beggars belief that in a civilized society, anyone could be taking this seriously. And we really sort of throw ourselves at your mercy, you know, in the sense that you've got the power to sort of do something about this, because to approve something where 5 floors of residents above who are already having problems, to exacerbate this in terms of internal noise, to exacerbate this in terms of outside noise, you know, it's just that anyone, I think, with any kind of reasonable sort of idea of kind of what it's like to live in a civil community, what's it like to have people on the council and panel members like yourself who are tasked with defending us, it just doesn't make sense. It's just an absurd proposition, and I really urge you, in the name of common sense, civility, and having some kind of civilized sort of structure, that we knock this back. As I say, when you make your decision, just hold in your mind there are 5 floors of basically elderly residents above this structure who are going to have to put up with the nighttime noise of young people, heavy drinkers, gamblers, having a great time while people try to get on with their lives. I say to you on the panel, each and every one of you, but I trust that you will do your duty and do the right thing by the residents and the ratepayers who have ultimately put you there. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Questions, panel of John? No. Thank you very much for that submission. Christina Simic, you're the planner on this application.
Yes, that's correct.
Would you like to make a submission, and you've heard from the objectors, maybe you could address maybe some of their questions in relation to need? I think maybe the common thread there.
Yes. So yeah, we are the town planners that prepared the statement of environmental effects for this application, and we've reviewed council's planning report and recommendation. We're supportive of their recommendation to approve the development, and we generally don't have any objections to the conditions recommended, but for condition 3, which relates to queuing, we've prepared a kind of separate position on that, but I'll address the concerns of the objectors first. So we do acknowledge that this application received many submissions, like 17 or 19, something like that. And there was a common thread throughout all these submissions, which I think is based on a bit of a misconception amongst the community about what this application is actually trying to achieve, so its purpose and its intent. So I think this was kind of raised, especially with regard to Mr. Redelman and hunting. The purpose of this application is not to extend any trading hours for the premises whatsoever. The purpose is really, firstly, to remove a lockout condition, which prevents patrons from entering the premises after 12 midnight, and also to remove a requirement for a trial period on entertainment. So the application wouldn't result in an extension of trading hours at all. And both of those modifications, as others have alluded to, are quite consistent with recent late night economy and vibrancy reforms at the state level. And New South Wales Police also has not objected to those modifications either. Council is also obviously supportive of it, and we have demonstrated in our SEE that any of those potential impacts that might result from moving the lockout condition can be mitigated through the plan of management, which contains measures for security to monitor and manage queuing and early cessation of the service of alcohol. Within that broader policy context, what we're proposing is fairly modest in terms of the operation of the premises, and they wouldn't alter or worsen any of the existing conditions by introducing live music or trading hours. So with regard to that, I think that kind of addresses some of the concerns of 2 objectors. In relation to Ms. Evanhouse's concern that these conditions do run with the land, and that if they're removed, there will be no provisions in place to manage impacts of the premises. Again, despite the removal of these 2 conditions, there are still many, many conditions within this plan of management that manage how the overall premises operates with respect to responsible service of alcohol, with respect to security, with respect to footpath management, and all of those things will still remain in place even after this, even if this application is approved. So that will ensure that residents can be protected in the future. So I think that kind of addresses the objectors' concerns. I'd like to move on or talk to our position in relation to condition 3. We understand that that condition has been imposed to address specific concerns from council and other members of the community who aren't speaking today about noise generated from queuing along Lewis Street. Notwithstanding that, we do challenge that condition on the basis that it would provide limited benefit and generate additional impacts and poor management outcomes that are presently avoided. And our reasoning is as follows. So firstly, it's noted that the applicant has only been operating the premises for 1.5 years and during that period not received complaints regarding queuing. The 2 complaints made were made subsequent to the lodgement of the application, and that's what has triggered the recommendation for condition 3. Secondly, queues at the premises are not a frequent nightly occurrence. They mainly form in peak summer periods on Saturdays between 10 p.m. and 12 midnight. So the scope of impact is really limited to those 2 hours on weekends in peak summer periods. Given the development context, being located right in the heart of Bondi Beach, the extent of that queuing is considered reasonable and to be expected of residents, and that's also acknowledged by council in their report. Thirdly, it's expected that the extent of queuing along Lewis Street will be reduced as a consequence of deleting the lockout condition, eliminating the need for condition 3. So this is because high volumes of patrons seeking to travel to the premises will no longer have to go in a mad rush to beat the lockout conditions. And it's expected that only a small number of patrons would continue queuing beyond midnight due to the fact that alcohol ceases service at 12:45. Fourthly, the applicant has advised us that New South Wales Police are the ones who have instructed them to form queues along Lewis Street in order to better manage interactions between patrons and large number of pedestrians along Campbell Parade. And they have not raised any concern with the present arrangements as part of this application. And finally, if the queue were to be relocated to Campbell Parade as recommended by council, it would definitely increase the risk of conflict between patrons, staff, and pedestrians along Campbell Parade, and potentially lead to unwanted social interactions and altercations, reducing the amenity of the area. So functionally, it would also be difficult for the applicant to actually manage their premises without creating impacts. We've been advised by the applicant that if the queue was to be located on Campbell Parade, like I said, they wouldn't be able to manage it, and that as a result, that's why we strongly object. And we think that there is sufficient flexibility within the existing plan of management to relocate the queue to Campbell Parade in future if operational circumstances do change.
Thank you. That was thorough, and thank you very much for addressing those objectors' questions. I'm not sure they'll satisfy them, but at least it addresses what this application is about. Questions, panel, for applicant?
I don't think so, thank you.
No. Thank you very much. We'll make a determination on this application in a private session at the close of today's meeting, with the minutes being put up on the website later this week.
You've
So
a right
thank you.
thing, commissioners.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we've got item number 5, which is DA 5/20/2024, 12 Clark Street, 4 Clues. There's no objectors speaking. We have the applicant Hiki here. Would you like to address the panel?
Well, I don't know what was the submission. Is there any objection or?
Anything you'd like to say to us before we make a determination on this application? You've read council's report, have you?
Not really. So I didn't see that.
Okay, well, all right. Well, council's recommended that this application, which is your application, be approved. And we, the panel, will make a determination on your application today, noting the assessment that's been conducted and the form viewed by council.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so if you've got nothing to say, then we don't need you to address it. It's an opportunity for you if you'd like to.
Yeah, I have nothing. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much
Thank you.
for coming
Okay.
in any event. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 6, which is DA 376 of 2024, 25 Victory Street, Rose Bay. There was a submission received. We have that. There's no speakers registered. So we'll now move on to item number 7, which is DA 203 2021D, 3 Military Road, North Bondi. Submission was received in writing. There's no registered speakers except for the applicant, Vlad Vishny. Vlad, are you here? No? Okay, so we'll, he was, Vlad? Nope. Okay. So we'll move on. He's left. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 8, DA 420 of 2024, 53 Glasgow Avenue, Bondi Beach. And we have no submissions were received. We've got no objectors registered. We've got the applicant, George Caravanas from GS Planning. Is there anything you'd like to address us on this item, Mr. Caravanas?
Members of the panel, I don't want to take too much of your time, particularly given that there are no objections. Just to reiterate that, of course, we're happy with the recommendation and don't want to challenge any of the conditions. The DA is quite a minor DA, and it simply seeks to divide the existing grocer into 3 separate retail stores and also have a ground floor extension to accommodate required washrooms and kitchenettes. Now, because the existing building's over the FSR, this additional floor space results in a non-compliance with the standard. The council's assessed it and assessed our clause 4.6 quite carefully and has deemed it to be sufficient in terms of the relevant requirements. The addition is not visible from Glenair Avenue. It largely takes up the space of an existing service structure and will definitely preserve solar view and privacy for the surrounding development. In other words, it maintains or preserves privacy as per the objectives of the FSR standard. So for all those reasons, we believe that this is indeed a minor application, did not receive any objections, and is worthy of approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
No, thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, item number 9, DA 332 of 2024, 27 House Street, Bondi Junction. There was no submissions received during exhibition period. We have no registered speakers objecting to council's recommendation. We've got the applicants, Amy Dodge and Kristen Karslowski. Is there anything you'd like to address the panel on? Noting that this application is recommended for approval.
No, we were just going to accept all the conditions given to us. Thank you.
Is there any questions for the? No. Thank you very much for making yourself available. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 10, which is DA 572 2024, 162 McPherson Street, Bronte. There was no submissions received. There's no registered speakers for either party or either side. So we'll now close the meeting and go into private session. Thank you, panel and staff.